Number 3. A weave. Spitalfields, a district and parish in the east of London, between Bishopsgate and Bethnal Green, inhabited by weavers of silk and other poor people. It was a place of sepulture for Roman London, and received its name from the fields having once belonged to the Priory and Hospital of St. Mary Spital, founded in 1197 by Walter Bruin and Rosia his wife, and dedicated to the honor of Jesus Christ and the Virgin Mary by the name of Domus Dei et Beate Marine, extra Bishopsgate, in the parish of St. Botolph. Hence the present parish of Christ Church, Spitalfields. The old name was Lowesworth, according to Stowe, who gives a long and particular account of the discovery of a large number of Roman cinerary urns, bones, vestiges of coffins and various other remains made in excavating on the east side of the church for Brickworth in I-576. Stowe was himself present during some of the diggings, and carried with him a small pot of white earth, made in the shape of a hare squatted upon her legs, and between her ears the mouth of the pot, also the lower jaw of a man, some iron nails, etc. The fields were covered with buildings between 1650 and 1660. That, in pure madrigal, unto his mother commended the French hood and scarlet gown the Lady Mavis passed in through the town. Unto the Spital sermon. The silk weavers of London, and especially of Spitalfields, have lived in periodic distress for a long time, and that they still have no cause to be satisfied with their lot is proved by their taking a most active part in English labor movements in general, and in London ones in particular. The distress prevailing among them gave rise to the fever which broke out in East London, and called forth a commission for investigating the sanitary condition of the laboring class, but the last report of the London Fever Hospital shows that this disease is still raging. The Dollonds were French refugees, and John Dolland, the inventor of the achromatic telescope, was born in Spitalfields and worked with his father at the loom. In the churchyard of the Priory, now Spital Square, was a pulpit cross, somewhat like, says Stowe, to that in St. Paul's churchyard where the celebrated Spital sermons were originally preached. The cross was rebuilt in 1594, and destroyed during the troubles of Charles I. The sermons, however, have been continued to the present time, and are still preached every Easter Monday and Easter Tuesday, before the Lord Mayor and Aldermen, at Christ Church, Newgate Street. The Christ Hospital or Blue Coat Boys were regular attendants, in the reign of Queen Elizabeth, at Spital sermons at the Old Cross in Spital Square. One set of manufacturers secured to themselves special seigneurial rights over the children of the proletariat, just as they had done before. These were the silk manufacturers. In 1833 they had howled threateningly that if the liberty of the working children of any age for 10 hours a day were taken away, it would stop their works. Reports of the Inspectors of Factories, 30 September 1844, p. 13. It would be impossible for them to buy a sufficient number of children over 13. They extorted the privilege they desired. Subsequent investigation showed that the pretext was a deliberate lie. This did not, however, prevent them, throughout the following decade, from spinning silk for 10 hours a day out of the blood of little children who had to be put on stools to perform their work. Reports of the Inspectors of Factories, 30 September 1844, p. 13. The Act of 1844 certainly robbed the silk manufacturers of the liberty of employing children under 11 for longer than 6½ hours each day. But as against this, it secured them the privilege of working children between 11 and 13 for 10 hours a day, and annulling in their caste the education which had been made compulsory for all factory children. This time the pretext was the delicate texture of the fabric in which they were employed, requiring a lightness of touch, only to be acquired by their early introduction to these factories. Reports of the Inspectors of Factories, 31 October 1846, p. 20. The children were quite simply slaughtered for the sake of their delicate fingers. just as horned cattle are slaughtered in southern Russia for their hides and fat. White mulberry, Morus alba, is a deciduous tree, native to China but cultivated for centuries in other eastern countries and southern Europe for silk manufacture. Its height reaches about 9 meters. The male and female flowers, in separate catkins, are produced in May. The fruits are generally white or pink, but occasionally purple, and the shiny leaves are less downy than the common mulberry. Emporium, a large and often ostentatious retail shop offering for sale a wide variety of merchandise. 16th century. From Latin, from Greek emporion, from emporos merchant, from poros a journey. The silk manufacture was planted in Spitalfields by French emigrants, expelled from their own country upon the revocation of the Edict of Nantes in 1685, a measure which transferred to this country the families of Auriol, Berry, Boileau, Bouverie, Ligonier, Labouchere, Romilly, Houblin, Lefroy, Levesque, de la Haye, Garnaout, Auvry, etc. In Spitalfields are found many French names, as Batet, La Fontaine, Stradian, Fonsenot, etc., by weavers, enamelers, jewelers, etc., both masters and workpeople, down to our own day, while still more, perhaps, translations of the original French names of their ancestors, as masters, Lemaitre, Young, Lejeune, Black, Lenoir, King, Leroy, and the like, but the traces of French descent have been fast fading away in recent years. In order to accomplish the division of labor in manufacture more completely, a single branch of production is split up into numerous and to some extent entirely new manufactures, according to the varieties of its raw material or the various forms that the same piece of raw material may assume. Thus in France alone, in the first half of the 18th century, over 100 different kinds of silk stuffs were woven, and in Avignon, for instance, it was legally required that every apprentice should devote himself to only one sort of fabrication, and should not learn the preparation of several kinds of stuff at once. The territorial division of labor, which confines special branches of production to special districts of a country, acquires fresh stimulus from the system of manufacture, which exploits all natural peculiarities. Brides were said to look pretty on their wedding day, as if the magic of the greatest occasion in their lives smoothed away all their faults and gave them beauty. She had looked very nice when she stood in front of the tall looking glass that morning, nicer than ever before, definitely pretty. And she had been able to believe her mother and her relatives and her bridesmaids when they told her so. Her white satin dress was gathered over half a dozen stiff petticoats which gave her height. The flounce of Honiton lace was as fragile as cobwebs. Two white ostrich blooms swept down from the diamond coronet which held her veil, and softened the contour of her face.